Hey, what's up everyone? Today I got 2 games from my main account. I'm starting to grind back up since I inted down to 1900. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy these games. Both of them are on whites, and then they were very attacking games. So with the first game, we get b4. Let me go to the analysis portion. My opponent played e5. We get bishop b2, and he supported it. So what do? We just support our pawn, have a better structure than him. He plays d5, so he gets control of the center. I just play e3, normal move, and he plays knight c6. I play b5, just kicking the knight right away, and this isn't a square for it either. So he goes over to e7. Now I play c4. He doesn't choose to take c4, so I say, alright, I'll take on d5. Then when he takes with his knight, my idea was that I can play this with tempo, because now he has to play a move to defend this. But I guess it's not really that bad, because he's really kicking my bishop. And now I went over to d3. They're saying it's an inaccuracy. My idea was to get a queen h5 check-in, and that g6 wouldn't be playable, because I just take. And if he recaptures, I win the rook. So he plays bishop to e7. And I go ahead and get my queen h5 move off, and I'm perfectly content with even him moving king to the side because he loses castling privileges, and that's what happens. It's funny, they actually say this is the best move. I wonder why. hx. Wow, you actually sacrifice the rook. Bishop e6. Okay, so I guess what they're saying is that their development is a lot better, so it's worth the exchange. And my queen is kind of stuck for the time being. But that's not an easy decision to make anyway. So he goes king to f8. I drop back to e2. Computer prefers dropping back to d1, but pretty much your mission is already done with the queen here, so there's no reason for it to stay behind. Just bring it back and then bring your other pieces forward, because all the pieces are still on the board, so it's very easy for me to drop the queen, by accident. And these are 10-minute games, so even less time to think about where I'm placing my queen. Could very much be a hazardous square. We get a knight to h6. They say it's a mistake, but I mean, it's not easy for him to find a square for this knight because there are no other squares. And yeah, I understand that knight a4 can be a good move because it undevelops me, because otherwise, I'm losing it. But it's much more natural for a human player to just develop all the pieces that you haven't yet developed. And I play f4 here. And the computer really doesn't like this. It prefers if I get my knight out, prevent this move knight to a4, get my own pieces out. But I'm kind of thinking, I just want to create some attack against the king. So now I sacrifice not 1, not 2, but 3 pawns. Well, I guess just technically 2. But there's the first pawn. I get my knight developed. He takes the second pawn, a castle, and then he takes the third pawn, and I take it with my other knight. So now I am fully developed. I am 2 pawns down, but his king can't castle. I have all my pieces kind of gunning down on him, and it's time to try to make a attack happen. So he goes bishop c5. So I just sidestep it, very easy. And then he offers a queen trade. So obviously, if I were to take the queen trade, the computer would not really like this too much. Yeah, it immediately goes down for me. Reason for that is I am down 2 pawns, so I need to keep my pieces on the board so that I have a solid attack. So instead I go over knight to e5. And I like this move because it's a tactical move that kind of leaves a lot in the air, as for how to respond to it. Obviously, taking isn't going to work because, the rook is covering this file. But if the king sidesteps, then this piece is technically still hanging. So I would have to do something at that point. So we get king to g8. And I take this knight on d7. And the reason why this doesn't really work right here too well, in this occasion, is because I take here with check. He has to recapture, obviously. and then I take back. And what changed here is that for 1 I got a pawn back on him, but for 2 I kind of ruined his structure, and his rook has nowhere to go. His knight also still doesn't really have a good square, so I'll have a good attack there. But he doesn't choose to take. Instead he just goes here, and I check the king. He doesn't have a great piece to block with right here, apart from this knight, but that'll allow my queen to get into the position, which is what I do. He plays g6. I just sidestep it. I guess the computer prefers me dropping back to h3, but I just wanted to keep this battery on the king because I had a lot of ideas there. Rook comes over to d8. So again, I'm not too worried. You know, I just put my own threat onto the board. And he plays knight to e5. So at first glance, it looks like he's winning a knight, right? Because my queen can't support the knight and get out of the way. However, I found this very nice move in game. Rook takes e5. And kind of the idea behind this is that the knight can never take here. So if the, what's it called? If the queen takes, then I just take with queen, and he recaptures my queen. And then I have a knight sitting here. He can't take this because discovery check, and I'm actually going to be up a bishop. Same thing if he takes with a pawn. I'm just going to take here, check. It's going to be mate unless he takes with the queen. I'm still going to take this knight, and then you know, we're going to have that discovery still, where it goes away, and I'm going to win the rook. So his other option is taking the queen, so I'll take his queen, and now, you know, if we exchange everything off, you know, I'm still going to be in a better position. He's still going to have his king pinned. You know, I'm still going to be looking to gain more material out of that. The option that he chose, though, is taking on e5. So I took an f7, and then took back with the rook. So he took my piece on d2. However, he's going to lose the rook now. So I go to f2. He obviously has to move out of the way of the check. If he blocks, then I'm just going to snag that, and he's still in trouble. So he goes king to g7. And what I do is an in-between move. So instead of taking this rook right away, I take this pawn first with check. Because if I take the rook first, he can defend that pawn. And then my bishop is kind of blocked out for the next few moves from an attack. So I take first, king goes to the side, I take on d2. Now he threatens the bishop. Now is where I have to be careful, because back rank checkmates are possible. So what I do is I check him, he blocks, and I go to g3. So now it's protected. He's going to take on a3. I bring my rook over to d7. So I have a few ideas. One idea is to kind of support this capture right here onto h7. The other idea is just to start taking some of these pawns. He goes back to defend the pawn. I drop my bishop back to kind of put a threat onto this. I also want to try clearing some pawns here so that my king can eventually escape. He plays b6, preventing me from grabbing that, although that wasn't really something that I was looking forward to taking anyway, because then he could play this, and then like trap my bishop, for example. So I played h4. Should have played the other pawn. I kind of forgot that his bishop was covering this diagonal. I missed that. He plays g4. I play bishop to d3, so obviously if he does any kind of move like this now, he's getting checkmated. So he offers a rook trade, and now with this rook trade, I accept. The reason I accept is because I have a nice pawn here for the taking, which he can support with the king, but then I just play g3, and now this is supported. And he plays h6, which actually traps his king for the rest of the game. King can't go this way, can't go this way, can't go that way, and now his own pawns are blocking him in the other directions. So, I bring my bishop to e3. He targets g3, so I block it, or I protect it. We get bishop to e5. I go back, bishop to f2, and my idea now is I just go on the light squares until I get to f7 to deliver checkmate. There's not a thing he can do. If he moves one of these pawns, I'm taking and I'm going to try to promote. If he tries taking here, I just take with the bishop, and then I still just checkmate him. So that's kind of my plan. I'm just going to walk until I can checkmate him. And he offers his bishop up for trade, which I accept. Because the same thing still stands. His king is stuck. You know, I can do absolutely nothing on this side of the board, and the king will not move. And here, I stop this guy from queening with my king. I get there in time. And these pawns cannot move either, because I just take. If they move one square, I take. If they move two squares, I en passant. So I'm getting a queen here, if they try moving those. So he actually just resigns after king d2, because he realizes that even though he has a pawn majority, it's not going to do anything for him. So that was the first game. I really liked that one. Good attacking game. Accuracy wasn't all there. It was 81%. But I enjoyed it. It was very tactical. It was kind of an attacking game with b4, so I always like that. Which leads me to my second game, which I also had the white pieces, of course. We played b4, e5, bishop to b2, takes, knight to f6, and I played knight to c3. I think the computer actually says this is inaccurate once you go with a high enough depth, but it's a gambit, so I like playing it in 10-minute format. But pretty much the gambit is that I try seeing if he plays d6, and then I take, he takes with queen, and then knight goes here, and I'm attacking the rook by extension for this check. I'm attacking the queen, I'm attacking the bishop, and you can't protect all three. So he actually didn't fall for it. He played knight c6, but then he did fall for it, so I'm kind of confused. Because when you have the knight on c6, you're not required to defend this bishop with the queen and defend the square. I mean, if you wanted to, he even still could have with queen to d6, or I think even this move. This is losing for me because now he has this move that's available. I guess here, and now this rook isn't takeable. Like, say I take it, I'm just losing. Oh no, it leads to a stalemate. That's what it was. Take, and then boom. So we don't want that, obviously. So he had a ton of ways to defend, but he just didn't see it. I think he was thinking I would take with queen, and he would have this. But unfortunately that doesn't work like that, because I can just take with the king. So queen goes over to d6, I'm pinning my king. I just move back. Castles, knight to f3. We get rook over to e8. I just support my king, make some room for the bishop. We get a6. I think he was thinking that I was going to go to b5, which I didn't have any intention to. And I get bishop d3, which the computer says is brilliant. I wouldn't necessarily say it's brilliant, but I'm kind of just laying a trap for my opponent. And the idea is that if he takes, of course, the queen is just hanging. So he plays h6, preventing my knight from going here. But my tactic still stands. I just go king to f1, just so I don't have to deal with this in-between move check, or this knight coming here, or anything like that. He still doesn't fall for it, though. He just moves king to h8. So I move my knight out of the way. He goes queen to f6, and I go knight to d5, just kind of asking him, are you repeating? Like, are you looking for a draw now? And he is. So I do is I allow one more repetition, and then I change my move. I play g3, making room for my king. He plays d6. I play h3. I didn't want this pin to come through, because that's just going to be annoying. So I just played h3. And my opponent plays g5. So I play knight to h5. The idea is that he can't kick it very simply. And his king can't ever come in here either. So I'm pretty happy with that positioning of the knight. He plays queen to c3. Excuse me. I play rook to b1. And I'm trying to get my rook onto b3 to kick the queen. And then I'm also trying to get my queen to be on a dark square somewhere. Because if my queen can get to a dark square, then I get a very good checkmate threats on the king. But he actually stops my move rook to b3. So I just offer a queen trade. I kind of just say, like, look, I guess you're not going to let me get onto a dark square. It's going to take too much work for me to get there. Let's just trade these off, and I'm going to start breaking it open in the center instead. You know, I'll even give you this a2 pawn. But he didn't want to trade. So I infiltrate with my knight. He moves his rook, and I go to e4, so now it's centralized. Queen goes over to a3. I take the free pawn that he's given me. He takes on a2. And the move that I played was queen to c3. But there's also some cool tactics, like knight takes, where I believe... Oh no, I was lying. I thought I won the rook, but the knight still supports it, so I'm just trolling you guys. So yeah, I did play the best move. Rook, sorry, king, not queen, went over to the side. And I got another check-in. King to f8. I checked him. And here he's actually going to be losing. Reason for that is queen here, here, and instead of taking the free rook, I'm going to have checkmate with the knight. Very nice. So instead, my opponent just went back, and one more time we repeated moves, but now I changed. Repeating moves could be very useful because you see, one, whether or not your opponent is trying to draw, because they will repeat moves if they're trying to draw, or two, you kind of force them to make a worse move. This was not that case. I more so wanted to see what he was trying to do. But the previous move, I saw that he was trying to draw. So he goes knight to e5. I take. I think there was a blunder on his part. I don't think he meant to play d5. But if he took, this is actually a trap. Because here, I can take with a rook, and I'm dropping the queen. It's still playable, but you know, I have two pieces compensation for the queen, so it's not the best. I also don't really have an attack going, and my king is awkwardly placed. Rook isn't getting in this game too easily. So I'm glad I didn't fall for that. Glad he also didn't take for some reason. But yeah, I mean, I thought this was another really good game. Very attacking. We had a brilliant move. We had two brilliant moves. I don't know why they necessarily gave them to me, but I'll take it. And then, yeah, that's all. Hope you guys enjoyed. And then I will catch you later.